Hello, I'm Mihály Rosonczy-Kovács and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, during his tour of the Romanian region of Transylvania, has made a tirade against the European Union. He has also accused Poland of being hypocritical in its dealings with Russia and finally praised Donald Trump and his overall policy direction ahead of the elections in the United States. These statements, while not unusual for Viktor Orban, have raised a few eyebrows and have also raised questions as to how the European Union and Hungary are going to cooperate in the near future, given there is a great divergence of directions on many crucial policy issues. So now let us talk to our guest about all this. Joining us now is Mihály Rosonczy-Kovács, International Director at the nézőpont Institute. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Welcome, dzień dobry. Welcome, bratanków.
So the first major controversy here has been the decision of Viktor Orban to try and insinuate that Poland is being hypocritical and sanctimonious in its dealings with Russia. However, it did not really provide any sort of specific evidence as to why that is so. Do you think that Poland is right to be a bit outraged about this, given that Hungary has maintained a very open contacts with Russia, while Poland was among the countries that have decided to shun the regime in Moscow in the wake of the invasion against Ukraine?
Well, maybe my personal opinion is not that important. It's maybe it's worth to a little bit give the context of the speech and also the remarks regarding Poland. So this 70-minute-long speech was more like an academic speech, and often the quotation that are taken from the context present some of the diagnosis as if it was a wish of Prime Minister Viktor Orban. So he tried to depict the position of the different players of the current complex geopolitical situation, that of Ukraine, that of Russia. He referred many times to the heroism of Ukraine, the ambition of Ukraine, that they want to switch from being a buffer zone. They want to become the propugnaculum of the Western world, which is an ambitious, heroic undertaking. He tried to make, from the Russian point, to make understandable, it not justifying, but to understand the Russian point in order to, in a future, be able also to dialogue between them. As for Poland, because it's true that these were very harsh and rigid sentences, we can say that for the first time in the last years, it's still important to know that the most important part dedicated to a foreign country was Poland. So basically the Hungarian foreign policy strategy has been in the last 1.5 decades subordinated into the Central European cooperation. And Hungary has always wished for that Poland becomes a flagship of this project. And for a long time it seemed that Poland wished to fulfill this role.
So what's changed then? Because it doesn't seem like there has been any major shift in Poland's foreign policy in this regard.
Orban said that there was still the V4 was flourishing. It was about lifting V4, the cooperation of V4, on the same level as Germany, France, and to create a third bloc together with the flagship of Poland, the V4. And also he said that it is understandable that Poland can hope for basically taking the role of Germany of becoming the most important security grantor of the NATO, of this flank, and at the same time Poland wants to overrise Germany, and for this Poland does not need anymore, or is not focused that much on V4, because the V4 presupposes the dominance or the leading role in Europe, Germany and France, for which a third block can be made. And then at the end, when he basically summed up his speech, he said that no matter these ambitions are let's say, valid or plausible or can seem plausible, according to his views, at the end, they cannot be fulfilled, and he wishes that Poland turns back to the Central European cooperation.
Isn't it the case, though, that it's also about the political direction? Like, we have European politics, we have the politics of nation states, but also we have party politics and ideology. And this actually forms part of this equation, because it can be argued that Viktor Orban conducts his politics in a very specific way. He tends to support parties, organizations, individuals with whom or with which he agrees, and Donald Trump can be a good example of that. And when Poland actually had a conservative government, which was certainly steering the country towards the right, some people even argue the far right, but of course that's a question of political debate where on the spectrum that was. Orban was okay with that. I mean, he considered Poland to be an ally. But when Poland emerged from the elections with a new government which has different priorities, and it is a government led by the liberal civic coalition, disagreements started to appear, because Viktor Orban did not agree with this government, but also there was a disagreement on the question of Ukraine, which has driven a rift through the V4. So my question is this: should Orban really be surprised that the V4 has been taking a back seat, because he had a tendency to cooperate very well with those he agreed with? But when you have a government which had a different direction, Viktor Orban tends not to do so well as a partner.
Yes, a very good question, and this is basically no secret that Fidesz party, the party of Viktor Orban, shares way more common values and vision with the party of law and justice, so the former government. But this shift that Orban was referring to already took place at the time of law and justice government. If we think about, for example, the trilateral agreement between Lithuania, Poland, and Ukraine, where it was apparent that Poland would like to create a new reality in Eastern or Central Eastern Europe instead of V4. But also, as for the government shift in Poland, Viktor Orban said after the Tusk government was inaugurated that every Polish person is a friend. All of the Poles are friends, even those who do not consider us to be their friends. It's also noted that till 2014, even the personal relations between Donald Tusk and Viktor Orban were very good. And during this speech, with this harsh remark, he always used the word bracia, brothers, bratanki. So and he also framed these kind of, we can again underline, harsh remarks that among a family, among brothers, let me say, or let me be this honest. So it's still obvious, or still the speech projected that for Hungary, still this vision of Central Europe, which cannot be fruitful without Poland, is the most important. And so Poland is most important. But apparently there was also disappointment towards the Polish policy. Still, he basically tries to explain for the Hungarian audience what the motivation behind this policy could be.
Do you think that Viktor Orban has an answer to questions concerning, well, we could probably refer to as consistency? You've mentioned the question of cooperation within Central and Eastern Europe, which also means being able to recognize certain trends. Now, many countries in Central and Eastern Europe, Poland included, have sought to diversify their energy sources. That was even before the war in Ukraine has begun. Now, Hungary has taken a different direction. Recently, the crisis resulting from Ukraine imposing sanctions on Lukoil has led Hungary and Slovakia to apply to the European Union to solve the issue. Normally, the European Union is considered to be, well, a difficult partner for Hungary, so to say. But in this case, Viktor Orban said that, look, you need to help us because we have a problem with this. Some people have answered, okay, so why didn't you diversify before? Why did you make a deal with Rosatom for the construction of a nuclear power plant? This goes against the trend in Central and Eastern Europe for diversification. Instead, it results in Hungarian economy being dependent on Russia. So do you think that this perhaps might be difficult to reconcile with the idea of putting Central and Eastern Europe first? Because when Russian interests are concerned, they often run against those of Central and Eastern Europe.
Let me give you a little bit of correction to the presumptions of your question. So Hungary had diversified, had done its best to diversify its energy need. 6 out of 7 interconnectors, as for gas pipelines, had been developed. Or we can recall the case of the Nabucco pipeline, which was basically then put in brackets, not because of Hungary. So, and there is the 7th pipeline also in development. As for the Rosatom or the nuclear plant, it's a heritage that Hungary inherited from the Soviet era. So basically, the technology is Soviet technology, and consequently, Rosatom is in the possession of a certain technical knowledge. But it's important to note that some other parts were diversified, first with German, then with French contributors. So, and that is why I cannot repeat enough times that I'm always very grateful for tvpworld, because the reality is different than depicted in the most media about Hungary. It's true that Hungary has a different vision on certain issues like family, nation state, and so on and so on. But the truth is, as for example, the diversification of energy needs, it's way more, how to say, deep than it's depicted generally in the media. And for example, in Poland, no matter, and it's not my personal, I don't know that I want to be on the stage, but I speak Polish. And in the last 3 years, I have never been invited to a Polish media to try to explain the Hungarian position, but tvpworld. So really, it's important. And I would like also to encourage everyone to listen to this speech, because it's by far not against Brussels, against the European Union, or against Brussels, or against the West. It's about how the European Union could be competitive on a global scale. So instead of focusing on the overwhelming bureaucratic multiplication of different institutions, it should focus on the economy project and also security project. Because as for Russia, for example, this is also a thought never quoted by Viktor Orban, that even with Poland and the Baltic state, the Hungarian interests are the same. That is to keep the security threat of Russia as low as possible. And Orban Viktor had warned for 3 years or 2 years that the longer the war goes on, the capacity of Russia will be increased. And that is why...
Which is a fair point. We unfortunately have run out of time. Suffice it to say that peaceful resolution is always a good thing, but not at the expense of the country that was attacked, which is Ukraine, of course. Ukrainians must first and foremost have an agency in deciding what future awaits them as a country and as a nation. Mihály Rosonczy-Kovács was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you.
And I'm Mihály Rosonczy-Kovács. You're watching TVP World. Please do stay with us for more latest news and updates.